And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Mario Moreno, who was an atheist up until he had a near-death experience, and today we're going to learn about it. Mario, thank you for being on our podcast today, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff, for the invite. Really appreciate. I could just start off with my experience. It actually happened in 1980s. You got a picture. I was in a heavy metal band playing the Sunset Strip. Like the days of Motley Crue and Van Halen and so forth. And I was playing like the Roxy, Troubadour, Gazzarri's, and all of these clubs. And I pretty much lived the lifestyle and really didn't believe in God at the time. And I was deep into partying in excess. One day, my Pasadena apartment, I just took a mixture of a lot of drugs and overdosed. And the next thing I knew, I collapsed and I felt my last breath leaving. When I tell people I felt my last breath leaving, it's kind of like a balloon inflated and then it's all gone. And the next thing I know, I'm actually floating on my back to the ceiling looking at my body. And that's when I realized, I go, oh no, I'm literally dead. Next thing you know, like within a blink of an eye, I'm on a mountaintop. First, it was really bright, and I'm thinking, wow, am I about to be judged? That's the first thing I thought about. With all my senses, and I love science and so forth. And again, you got to think about it. I didn't believe in God, so I'm thinking, what is this? What is actually happening? And I began to, all my senses, every time I asked myself a question, I was standing in a line, a long line. It was a wide line of people. And I even remember the people in front of me talking, saying the same thing I was, am I dead? It was an Asian man in front of me. And there was an Egyptian woman on the side of me, and they're talking in their language, but I understood it. And that was the first thing I go, they're not moving their lips, but I could understand them. And I could hear a rumbling, like a rumbling, like if you're in a movie theater and you hear that rumble in soundtracks and so forth, and that's what I was hearing. And it was like a silence. So it was a rumble and a silence. And then I'm looking at the line and the line's moving forward and I'm thinking, I am dead. This is it. This is eternity. And that's all I could think about is I have no way of going back into my body. I just wanted to go back into my body and start life all over because the lifestyle I lived, because I just died of a drug overdose, right? And then the lifestyle I live with groupies and so forth. And so anyways, the thoughts are like going through my head. This is it. I'm going to face God. I'm not going to make heaven because I just don't deserve heaven because of my lifestyle. And then all of a sudden to my left-hand side, I see a cage, right? And this cage like just flew to this wheel. It was like a huge wheel. If I could describe the wheel, it would be kind of like an amusement park ride with where that big wheel spins, and it goes to like horizontal type thing. And these cages kept on going onto this wheel, and then I could see people in these cages, right? And then I'm thinking to myself, I go, what's going on? What are these people in these cages? And then all of a sudden, right when I asked that, I could hear the answer, and I could hear the thoughts of a woman. She was a Christian woman, and she was in this cage, right? And she was terrified because I knew what she did to deserve where she was going. And she kept, and I could hear she was in sexual immorality in the church, even though I didn't really know too much about, biblical thoughts or phrases, but they kept on coming to my mind. and then the line kept on going forward. So, and again, I'm thinking logically, what is this? I know I'm dead. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And then I could hear like another cage hit that wheel, and then I could understand the next person why they were strapped to that wheel. And so the experience went on. As the line went on, I could hear rumbling, and then I could hear small screams, right? And I'm going, what is that? You know, and I'm still thinking I'm about to face God. I know I tell the rumbling. And then if I could like describe the place, right, of the mountaintop, I seen a movie. It was about Superman, where like he's in this cave, and it's all like a gray and kind of like gloomy, but there's like light around it. So I remember the light was like pretty bright. It was like a bright light, and then like the smell, it was kind of like a mist, like and I could describe like Disneyland going in to Wonderland, or wherever that's called, when all the mist comes up. And then so like I start hearing screams, and then next thing I know, I go, man, I need to go back. And then all of a sudden I hear a voice say, "It is not your time. I have great plans for you." And then all of a sudden I'm back on the ceiling with my back to the ceiling. And then I woofed back. I could say it like I woofed back into my body and inhaled. And then I go, wow, what did I just experience? So like next thing I know, I could hear a bang on my door, and it was some girl I was dating, and I told her, "You wouldn't believe it, but I just died," and she just laughed and so forth, and basically that's my experience as an atheist, having a near-death experience. So like it's been years and years since I haven't really told anybody about it, but then I was flipping some YouTube channels and seen an experience of this one woman that had a similar experience to me, and this other heavy metal drummer, he sings similar things. But this woman that had this near-death experience, she described Jesus taking her to a high mountain and lifting her up, and she could see below the mountain, and it was a long line, and this long line was leading, people were dropping into hell. And she described the exact same mountain, the exact same line I was in, and the exact same place I was going. And yeah, and that's basically my experience as an atheist.
I had a guest one time that it was in a line similar to yours, but he said it was
Really?
like, it was hot and it was sticky and people were like groaning and unhappy. Did you notice anything like that?
No, I didn't. So like to me, like I was way in the back of the line. Maybe that was the front of the line, but I could tell there was a rumbling, and we're about to get to some place that it wasn't pleasant. So the first thing I thought, again, I'm in a line to be judged by God. You know, maybe that rumbling is thunder. But right when I seen the cages, you know, that threw up red flags. I go, oh no, this isn't good. And again, like other people's death experiences, like they would see these cages, and so I knew it was leading me to a different place. And again, I didn't believe in God, so I knew I didn't. But the main thought that was going through my head through the whole thing, this is eternity. There's no turning back. I can't go back and make things right. And I was so terrified because I knew like my eternity was torment forever and ever. And that was the most terrifying thing. So even today, like I think about it, and I think about everybody has a free will, right? To do what's right and to do what's wrong. And my choices now is just to do what is right in life, you know, from even the motives of life and so forth.
Do you have any idea where that voice was coming from, or who it was coming from?
I could hear it in my right ear because I just remember in my right ear. But then you could, uh, when that voice spoke, it spoke from inside you. I can't explain it. That you just knew that it was, you know. I can't say who it was because I just don't know. I didn't see. But another thing, like when I watched different near death experiences, there's one thing I couldn't see, right? And it was me. I couldn't see my body. I wanted to see my body. I was going. I want to see how I looked, but like people were dressed in clothes like here on Earth. Like they just died in the same clothes and they're in heaven. And that's one thing that I was like puzzled because I could see, how that woman, the Egyptian woman, had a covering on her face. So, and the Asian man in front of me, I could tell he was worried about his family. I just knew these thoughts. And it's just an amazing experience, a life-changing experience. Again, it changed my life to the point where I think different, I see different, I love different, I think the best of others. It's just a life-changing experience.
I've had over 300 NDE interviews, and I'm starting to think that some of the times when people have experiences like you had, it's due to them being on drugs or alcohol that lowers
Mhm.
their frequency and sends them to a lower realm. Do you
Mm.
think why you went to that realm, if that's true, or do you feel like you had done a lot of wrong things in your life?
Again, I'm a person that looks at every angle in life before that, right? Again, I didn't believe God. I didn't, but there was something different about this that all my senses were like awake, like 1,000 times. Like you just knew everything. And it wasn't because of the drugs. It was because I breathed my last breath. I felt my last breath leave. And you just, like a death experience is, I could explain it as like you have two people living in you. And again, I'm an atheist. I'm scientific. I was an atheist at the time. I'm not no more. But it was kind of like two people living in you, and then all of a sudden, when your last breath leaves your body, all of a sudden, the second person comes, which is like your soul. And again, like all my senses were wide awake. It wasn't like I was induced in drugs anymore. Like my mind was wide awake. I knew it's kind of like every death experience that you talk to, they know it's not a dream. They know it's not a hallucination. They just know that it's a near-death experience. They left their body. They're floating on top of the ceiling. Some people go into tunnels of love and so forth. I didn't experience any of that, which I don't know why. Like I didn't receive any type of like review, like life review that other people do. But I knew my destination was another place, and you just know
Would you say that the other side is just as real as being here?
it is. To me, like again, like I describe it in movies, right? Like again, like the mountain I seen, it was like gray and dark and gloomy and misty, and it describes like a movie. But the rumbling sound, it was like terrifying because you could hear that rumbling, and it's kind of like a LA earthquake. It keeps on shaking and keeps on shaking. And so it was terrifying in a sense, but again, it was life changing to the point that it made my life change for the best, because I could have just died, uh, overdosed, and didn't come back, right? So all these experiences that I listen to, and they're amazing. Some people have like talked to God and stuff. I wish I would have talked to God, and but I already knew the wrong I did. You just sense like to me, like I felt like eternity. I was gonna think about all the wrong things I did in life. And it's just like a thought that came, like, oh man, I'm just going to think about all the wrong I did, all the lies, all the hurt. And yeah, and overall, like, again, it was an experience. But after the after effect, right, it didn't change me, to be honest with you at the beginning, because I just felt like, hey, I died and that's it. Let's party on, you know. But something else happened to me. And all these things kept on happening to me, like after the near death experience. And I'll share a few of them, okay? So I'm walking in an alley neighborhood and I get mugged. The robber, I fought back, right? So I fought a couple of guys, and one of the guys put a gun to my head and pulled the trigger. And I knew I was going to die. At the instant, I thought about God again, and the chamber got stuck. And then so I ran. So that's one instance, right? You can hear the thunder in the background. It's like it's not sound effects. It's actually Albuquerque, New Mexico monsoon. So I run, right? And then all of a sudden he starts shooting at me and the gun starts going off. So like little things like that, I get into a motorcycle accident. I'm going head on collision, 80 miles per hour. And I hit this woman that's not wearing her glasses. I hit her front. And again, I'm going 80 miles per hour on the side of the Pasadena freeway. I fly up into the air, right? I'm thinking I'm going to die again. No helmet, nothing. And all of a sudden I see a huge, huge hand just carry me down to the ground. And then all of a sudden I tumble and I get back up walking. And so like different experiences like this, right? And then, so that didn't even stop me, right? And I'm thinking, okay, I'm invincible. But then one day, like I'm kind of like touring and stuff, and I collapse. And then I hit the floor in excruciating pain. So they rushed me to the emergency. And then they said, just you're okay. A month later, I collapse again. I go back, and they go, you have cancer. The cancer has spread from your stomach to your lungs. Next, it's going to your brain. And I go, oh, man. And then so I go, here I go again. I'm going to die again, and I'm not living right. I was still doing the same thing I always did, right? And then so I'm laying in my hospital bed. The priest comes in to give me the last rites, right? Sprays that water on me and so forth. And then he leaves, and then I began to pray. I go, God, if you love me, show me a sign. That's all I need to know, that you love me. And then a man walks in my room. He goes, God has sent me. And then he lays his hands on me. All of a sudden, my body's on fire, literally like on fire. I go, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he just walks out. And then a couple of weeks later, the doctor showed me the x-ray. I don't know where the cancer went from your lungs, but it's gone. And so all these experiences, but that last experience kind of led me back to God, leading me back to thinking of all my experiences. And but now I'm like totally, I love God, and I'm not an atheist, and I changed my lifestyle. But it took all these experiences. I've seen angels. I've seen future events, a lot of future events. I mean, events that would stun you. And let me give you an example. So one day, like I'm praying, and then all of a sudden I'm taken to a wall in space, and I see a comet. So a comet is flying by me, and this angel is sitting by me, and I could feel the heat of the comet. The next day I wake up, and I put it on my TV, and it's CNN, and this comet just hit Russia like an hour before. I go, what is going on? What just happened? I just seen this. And then I see earthquakes. So like earthquakes, like in open visions, I would see a clock on a wall. And then all of a sudden I'll see the wall shake, and then I'll see a date. So I even wrote it on a chalkboard at work, the time and the date, right? and it happened exact time, no, not a minute later or sooner or anything. Tornadoes, like tornadoes, I see tornadoes before they happen. I see the places that they hit, the exact like building structures. I can't see the location, but I can see the building structures, and I see the tornado. And then like a week later, the tornado hits, and I see those exact building structures.
Have you seen anything that hasn't come to pass yet?
So 3 days before you contacted me, right? Um, I'm laying down and I see this huge wave. I mean, it's huge. I can't describe how huge it was, but it was so huge that it was terrifying, like in my spirit. And I go, what the heck is going on? And this huge wave is coming to me, but my faith, by faith, I'm telling this wave to move to, this way is like west, I believe. Yeah, west. And so it moved to the west, and I could see these buildings. I could see these people in the buildings, right? And they're looking at the waves, like cheering it on. And I'm going, why are you cheering it on? This wave's gonna like hit your building. And so I seen that like 3 days before, like you contacted me. I haven't seen that come to pass. But I see like a lot of things, Jeff, and I think it's because of the near-death experience, because like I experienced something and it stood with me. Like at times, like I told you, when I'm standing in the line, I could hear the thoughts of people. That happens not like all the time, but like at times I could hear their thoughts, and I'm going, it's like the same thing when I was standing in that line. So I have friends tell me, how did you know what I was thinking? And I'm not doing it on purpose. I just like say like the words that I hear them saying. And but anyways, the near-death experience has changed me from the experience and even after. Maybe because I'm a Christian, because I see things and I love God. Maybe He shows things, but also animals. I was on vacation. If you look on my Facebook, and this happens a lot. So like I'm looking out at the ocean. I'm at the Santa Monica Pier, and I have my camera and I'm filming the ocean. And then all of a sudden, from nowhere, here comes a seal from the middle of the ocean, and he comes right up to me. and it's just like, hey, it's just a seal, right? But I have like a lot of these experience from like squirrels coming up to me, deer coming up to me. I don't know if they sense my spirit, because like I'm a kind, gentle person or something. But yeah, it's just like a life-changing experience, like experiencing like life without the shades. I could tell you like how I feel now. It's just like a life-changing experience.
It sounds like that you are here for some type of purpose, because it's like you've got 9 lives and you keep going. Do you feel that you've discovered what that purpose is?
Yeah, I have. Like everybody has a purpose in life, whether it be a maid cleaning a hotel. Jesus had a purpose, right? He says, I'm here to do the Father's will. So overall, everybody has a purpose. In my life, I love to encourage people to give hope. If that's my purpose in life. But in life, my main purpose after my experience of like cancer and so forth, I would take homeless to get shelter. So I was counseling the homeless for quite a few years, and then the Lord led me to minister to Native American Indians. So I did that for a while, and now He has me cocooned up and just waiting for His next purpose in life for me. But overall, like I just been going day by day. Everybody has a purpose. Like you have a podcast, right? That probably touches millions of lives. Of people who have lost loved ones and they hear a near-death experience of somebody that went to heaven, which gives them hope. So everybody has a purpose in life.
What do you think inspires you about your NDE?
Inspires me, like death is like, people think about death as, okay, when my time comes, it's going to come. And what inspired me the most was what people just don't know about, like dying, which I didn't know, again, as an atheist. Like I'm just going to die and I'm just going to float somewhere in space, right? But now that I know how it is to feel to die, like I tell people, it's kind of like you need a death life insurance policy. And when I say that, it's because, like, if you're not prepared for dying, like you're living every day like that's not healthy in a sense. And I'm not going to talk about all kinds of sins and so forth, but then all of a sudden you die, just like I did, right? And I wasn't prepared. And again, I wanted to go back into my body and make things right. But see, now today, like, since you have free will, now you have a chance to do what is right in life. Like what Noah, right? In the days of Noah, the whole world was corrupt, but God tells Noah to build an ark, right? And he preserves his family. And then all of a sudden, the time came. Noah was building an ark. The whole place seemed that he was building an ark, but nobody was prepared for when the floods came in. And that's like how death is. But now we have an ark, right? We have Jesus. He's that ark, So again, we have that free will, and our death life insurance policy is Jesus. Whether you have that life insurance policy with him or you don't. And I'm always blunt with people and forward, where I was going, I wasn't going to heaven, I just wasn't. So that's the experience that I took from this near-death experience.
So when you're on the other side and you were in line, did you ever get a glimpse of what hell is? I mean, it sounds like you saw someone in a cage, but
yeah.
Did you see anybody go into a fiery pit or anything?
No, I didn't get that far, Jeff. I'm glad I didn't, because I was like terrified. I was like so terrified. There's no like thought that could tell you how much fear it was. But I'm glad I didn't get that far. I hear everybody else's experiences where they see like pits and souls in those pits and flames are coming out. One atheist said he's seen cages also, of like Hitler in a cage and he's being tormented. And I see all these near-death experiences, and I'm glad I didn't get that far. But overall, yeah, I wish I had more to share with you, Jeff, of what I saw, but that's basically what I experienced and saw at that point. And then I came back to my body, and here I am.
Has the memory of this experience faded over time?
No, it hasn't, man. To be honest with you, like I mentioned in the beginning, like it did give me PTSD in a sense. So like, and when I say that, it's like, if I'm thinking about lying, right? All of a sudden that image comes to me. So it put like fear in me. But now that I know God, and again, now that I know God, I know when I die again that I will see him, and my destiny is heaven. So no ifs or buts. I'm pretty confident about that.
I'm assuming then that you don't fear death at all anymore.
Now I don't. I've experienced other things in life that I could have died from, but as a Christian, but I don't fear it anymore. I know how it feels to die, and now I know my destination. So there's no fear in death. The Bible talks about, the fear of death torments, right? People live their whole life fearing death, and it's a constant fear. But when you know God, there's a peace, and you just know heaven is your home. So now I have no fear of death.
Quite a few of my guests who had a hellish experience were able to get out of there by calling out to Jesus. Do you have an opinion on that?
Thank God, thank God for God's mercy. Thank God for God's second chances. Just imagine that person staying in there and forever. So like I think about like hot boiling water, being poured on you constantly like that. A demon coming in, ripping you apart. So I listen to these experiences and I'm going, wow. And all they did was call in the name of Jesus. And all of a sudden he appears and takes them out of that pit. Man, that is such an amazing second chance. I bet you those people, I would like to talk with them. Maybe we could have a convention of near-death experiences. That would be nice.
If you could give tips on how not to get into the situation you got into, what would they be?
Yeah, so like if you're talking about like after or before, I would just say, again, we have a free will to do what is right and to do what is wrong in life. The choice is not hard to do what is right. It's a narrow path, right? Because everybody does what is wrong, and you see that in society. And everybody agrees with society when things are wrong. But when you do what is right, you'll feel confident when that time comes. And I always tell people, man, know God, because that's what the Bible says. The will of God is to know God. If you know God, then you'll have peace. But overall, in my situation, I didn't know God. I knew I was going somewhere else, but now I know God. Now I know where I'm going now. So, but was there any other questions, Jeff?
I was just saying, if you had any tips to help people from not going or not having a hellish NDE, what kind of tips would you give them?
Well, again, it's a choice, man. So your near-death experience depends on a lot, right? So like, I don't know about other people's experiences, but my life wasn't right. So I know I was going to hell, and I could hear it. I could hear like the screams. I could see the cages. So like, my tips is this, right? Is to know God. And that's the main tip I could give, is to know God. That would prevent you from doing what is wrong in life and turning to doing what is right in life. And that's my main tip. And that's going to get you to heaven instead of the wide road that leads to destruction.
What is the best way for people to know God?
To know God is simple. Talk to him. You don't have to be super religious and follow all these rituals and stuff. Just spend time, walk with God. The Bible says Enoch walked with God and he was no more, meaning that he got to know God. And like, take a walk in the park, talk to God. And that is the first start that I recommend. It's not like doing all these rituals and so forth and doing what everybody, just get to know God, talk with God. Because he wants to hear from you. He created you. He loves you,
After watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions or chit chat with you. Are you open to that? And if so, how can they reach you?
Let's see. It's a very good question. I love to talk to people, right? But then I do get the other side of it, which I have already, from Christians that tell me, oh, Christians don't go to hell. How come you're saying? And then I have the atheists saying other things to me. How come you turn to the other side? God doesn't exist. So with that being said, right, I would rather not be contacted.
That's okay.
Because it does take a lot of my time to answer these, which I don't mind, right? Because I like helping people. But then there's a bad part of it. Which I don't. I love my privacy. I have a family and so forth, and so yeah.
That's perfectly okay. Do you have anything that you would like to promote?
I do not, Jeff. That I just want to share my experience. This is my first time ever sharing my experience with anybody. Well, not anybody, my family I have, but like with TV or a podcast. I have got other offers which I'm looking at, but I'm not looking to promote anything myself or anything that I do in life. I just love life, man. Just want to share that.
For your friends and family who you've shared this experience with, how did they react?
They got a mixed feeling about it. They kind of just ignored me in a sense when it first happened. My family is Christians now, except for one sibling, which I'm still praying for. But like they had mixed feelings. That now when I share that experience, they go, "Oh wow!" But back then, we're all, in space, man. But now we're all Christians, and when I share the experience, or you died, like we didn't know that you died, and they didn't remember me telling them in a sense. But now, like I tell my daughter, because I have a daughter, and she listens, and she's just amazed what happened. And my friends sometimes they seem like it's kind of like a scary experience. Not to scare anybody, but yeah, hell is definitely real. But yeah, that's pretty much it, Jeff. Like my family is okay with it. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
Yeah, I can. We have a life here on Earth, right? And then I think about society today, how there's like a spirit of anger with everybody. You see shootings, you see everything, but one act of kindness could change the world, and you see that, right? But love and kindness, man. I tell people, if you walk in loving kindness, you can't go wrong, and do what is right, and you can never go wrong by doing what is right in life, and love one another.
Mario, thank you for that message, and thank you again for being my guest today. I really appreciate you, and I wish you the best.
Yeah, you too, Jeff. Thank you for letting me be on your show. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.